we're what, a week into the university year, I think realized that the experiment didn't work.
Dane County Executive Joe Parisi with some very clear language for the UW tonight. Send undergrads away to prevent spiking coronavirus cases from getting even worse. Parisi told us late this afternoon the university should have paid attention to what happened to other campuses that needed to shut down instead of gambling with an in-person restart.
We have team coverage tonight. We'll get to Adam Duxter in a moment with concerns at UW-Platteville. But we begin with Madeline O'Neill with more on what Parisi is asking UW-Madison to do. Maddie?
Well, since September began, 3/4 of new COVID-19 cases here in Dane County came from UW students. The Dane County executive tells me today he's not overly surprised by this surge. With 40,000 students living in a relatively small area, he says it's time to reduce that population density and send undergraduate students in dorms home. Now, the county can't order the university to do anything, but Parisi sent a letter laying out 4 recommendations. Number 1, send undergraduates in dorm rooms home for the rest of the semester. Number 2, get more on-campus quarantine facilities. Number 3, triple the amount of contact tracers at the university. And number 4, increase testing capacity on campus. Parisi says it's not too late to stop this from getting worse.
And what we've learned throughout this pandemic is the earlier you get in front of something, the better you are in the long run. You know, we all want to be on the other side of this. No one more than myself, I guarantee you. But the reality is we are in the middle of a global pandemic and we need to take it seriously.
I asked about sending undergrads home at the risk of infecting their families. Parisi understands the concerns, but he feels ultimately he needs to protect the people of Dane County first and foremost. We have reached out to Chancellor Rebecca Blank and Interim President Tommy Thompson for their responses. We're still waiting to hear back, but we'll let you know as soon as we do.
All right, Maddie O'Neill live on campus. Maddie, thank you. UW-Platteville says it's working to crack down on student activity following a rise in cases.
The school's chancellor put out a statement following news of a planned house party. Our Adam Duxter is live on the UW-Platteville campus with the punishment students could face if they're caught not social distancing. Adam?
Well, the university spokesman told me today that when campus officials got word of that off-campus party, they didn't want to risk it because just as of today, the campus has nearly 36 confirmed coronavirus cases among students. Now, that spokesperson told me today, well, that's not a severe number compared with universities of similar size. Students from here on out caught partying or in large groups could face punishment as severe as being suspended, and that the chancellor himself is doing what he can to make sure kids aren't gathering in a way that the school doesn't approve of.
Chancellor he's actually gone around to the fraternities, sororities, knocked on their doors that Saturday night at 10:30 and just checked up on them, made sure that they're following social distance policies.
Erickson says these punishments are harder to enforce off campus at places like, say, a bar, but says the university is working with those downtown restaurants and bars to make sure they too are enforcing social distancing. He says right now the university has the potential to quarantine up to 250 students and that they'll do what they can to stay open in the meantime.
All right, Adam, thank you.
There was definitely a sense of panic and confusion because we really didn't know exactly what was happening.
Tonight, we're sorting through that confusion as we follow breaking news from the UW campus. Classes are going virtual. 2 residence halls are quarantined and most buildings are closed for the next 2 weeks.
That quarantine starts right now at 10 o'clock, but it all happened fast, just in the last couple of hours, and it led to this. A lot of students reacting by just stocking up.
Yeah, a message from UW Chancellor Rebecca Blank says they saw this sharp increase in cases at Celery and Whitty residence halls, which are now quarantined as of the last couple of minutes, 10 o'clock, and everyone in those buildings will be tested tomorrow and Friday.
Blank did say they do not have any evidence of cases being spread in class, but learning is moving to a virtual platform regardless.
Our Madeline O'Neill has been there for the past couple of hours watching this all unfold. Maddie, the doors just closed. What have you seen in the last hour or so?
right? It's 10 o'clock. Students are being directed to be in their rooms by now. You know, it looks like they went in just a minute ago. We saw students milling around, so they must have gone into their dorms. But when we got here just before 8 o'clock, there was a steady stream of students, a lot of confusion about what was going on, because at that point, this quarantine was just rumors. We saw plenty heading to the stores, coming back stocked up with groceries. You know, we first heard the official word from university authorities just after 8 o'clock. But before that, we spoke with students who tell me that they either heard from this from rumors or from an email from their RA with really little information. Students tell me they still have plenty of questions, including about things like food delivery.
A whole mass exodus going on of people leaving to go to the grocery store and pick up stuff because nobody really knows what's happening.
Sort of surreal right now. I mean, it's kind of like the panic stage that happened back in March where everyone's stocking up. But for us, it's a little bit different because we're here at a dorm and we don't exactly have the facilities to go out and get stuff anymore.
I personally already had COVID, so I've already been, so this doesn't affect me, but now I have to do it all again. And it's like, I didn't have it as worse as the first time, but like thinking about having to do another 2 weeks, it's just not really what I want to do right now, but I have to deal with it.
Now we can't even go outside. I mean, we're stuck in that building right behind us for 2 weeks as far as we know.
And we don't know the repercussions, like if we do like leave the dorm, like whether to go to food or something, we don't know like what are the actions that the school is going to take.
Some students I spoke with are hopeful that this quarantine will help. Others say they don't think it's fair that Whitty and Celery are being singled out as residence halls being put in quarantine, with many new cases being linked to off-campus students. Now, according to university officials, students in Whitty and Celery that haven't been tested yet will be tested on site this week. They're stressing that students aren't being asked to move out. But tonight we've seen plenty of cars lining up here, either delivering supplies or what appears to be students moving out. We spoke with some students as well who were considering going home. They have plenty of questions tonight about whether they'd be able to even return. So a lot of things on students' mind tonight as we go into this 2-week quarantine.
All right, that's Maddie O'Neill live on campus tonight. Maddie, thank you. We're also joined by a student who is now quarantining inside Whitty Hall right now. Zach Sherman is a freshman from Wilton, Connecticut, and he joins us now live. Zach, thanks for being with us.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's a real honor.
Well, so you're in one of these dorms. You're locked down right now. What are you able to physically do? You're just kind of there, right? You can't go anywhere.
We can go to the bathroom, we can walk up and down the halls, and we can sit in our dorms. That's pretty much it.
All right, so when you find this out, when did you find this out? And describe for us the scene when you and your roommate, anybody else, any other friends on your floor found out about all this.
So we were watching the Celtics game tonight, and some girls came running down our hall, and they said, we're going into lockdown, we're going into lockdown. And all of us at first thought it was, you know, they just sent us an email about directing our activities to minimize contact. None of us knew that we would be in a quarantine for 2 weeks. Okay. So once we found out, all my friends and I ran out of the dorm, went to the supermarket, got a lot of food, and we're just waiting to see what's going to come next.
Now, UW Dining, I know a lot of people were stocking up on food, but they're also going to offer carry-out, right, from the dining halls?
Yeah, so they're going to be bringing us food. We got an email with, you know, certain time periods, but you don't know, they might run out. We don't know the full extent of the meals, and we just want to be prepared.
Right. So what about going home? She mentioned some students were thinking about that. You've been here, what, about 2 weeks now. Is that an option for you, or are you concerned about spreading it to your loved ones if you go back home to Connecticut?
Well, first off, I don't feel comfortable taking a plane like this not knowing what I'm taking. I really don't want to endanger the general public. And the second thing is that I don't want to bring it home to my loved ones. I've tested negative twice for COVID-19, but it's just out of my own personal comfort level. I would rather stay in the dorm than bring it home to my family.
And I think that's what they want you to do. So did you know of some of these cases? They said Celery and Whitty were the higher areas. Did you have friends that were testing positive?
Yeah, so I know some kids who have tested positive. Thankfully, I hadn't come in contact with them in a few days. I personally have been following a lot of the guidelines set by the university of socially distancing somewhat when you see people in the halls. But overall, when they have had it, they've gone to the isolation dorms. A few of my friends are in hotels right now as well.
Okay.
It's very unclear what's going to be proceeding in the future too.
All right, so you at least were made aware there were areas of quarantine, both hotels and areas on campus. Now, I assume some of your classes so far, you've only been in class as a student at the UW since last Wednesday. I assume they've been virtual. Is that for the most part? And do you have everything you think you need from a virtual learning standpoint? How has that gone for you in this first week?
So I will give credit where it is due to the university. I do feel that a lot of the virtual classes have been good. It's not seamless. It's not going to replicate what in-person instruction would give. But personally, I've had a good experience so far, but I'm also a freshman. And for a lot of juniors and seniors who are going to be taking their higher level courses for their majors, I do feel that in-person will be better. I had one in-person class because it was a very small lecture, but overall, I feel equipped with what I'm given and with the course load that I'm taking to succeed in an online course.
All right, Zach Sherman, thank you so much. We wish you nothing but the best of luck and continued health. Hang in there with you and your friends there at Woody Hall. Zach Sherman, a freshman from Wilton, Connecticut. Certainly an unforgettable way to start your time in Madison. We wish him nothing but the best. All right, UW System President Tommy Thompson released a statement after Chancellor Blank's announcement. He says, quote, "I support the additional mitigation steps announced by Chancellor Blank today. These steps are not unlike those employed by other universities around the country." He went on to say, "Each of our universities faces different circumstances, and we continue to monitor their situations daily. At this time, the other 12 universities are continuing to operate as expected."
The university's decision tonight comes after a strongly worded letter from the Dane County executive just a few hours earlier. Joe Parisi says 3/4 of Dane County's new cases this month are from UW-Madison. Parisi called for the UW to go further than it did tonight. He wanted students sent back home. Parisi asked the university to rely on virtual learning for the rest of the semester. If they wouldn't go that far, Parisi called for more testing and tripling the amount of contact tracers.
But you know, my responsibility is to the 500,000 people who live in Dane County, and I need to do everything I can to protect them. And right now, when I look at what's going on among the campus, my greatest fear is not only for the UW students and staff, but it's also for the members of the larger community.
Interim System President Thompson's team responded to that letter this afternoon, saying it wouldn't be a wise solution, suggesting they had enough quarantine space, testing, and protocols in place.
In southwestern Wisconsin, students at UW-Platteville could face punishment, even suspensions, if caught not social distancing, according to a university spokesperson. Currently, 35 students have tested positive. University officials say once they learned of plans for an off-campus party circulating online last week, they had to take action. A university spokesperson says students caught partying or not obeying social distancing rules will be referred to the dean of students.